Welcome back. We now turn to Islamic science, which I first learned about from Dr. Nasr and was blown away by, as I mentioned in my introductory video. What is Islamic science, and how do we define science? The word science is derived from the Latin verb scire, which means to know, so it has to do with knowledge. That's neutral with respect to religion. For example, we could have biology and astronomy on one hand, and theology, or the science of God, and angelology, the science of angels, on the other. In principle, science would be organized knowledge, which can be about anything. But gradually the term science developed into a very particular way of understanding this process of knowing. Since the scientific revolution and the Elizabethan period, the word science began to be used more and more in the modern sense of an empirical or sensory means of knowing the material or physical world. And that process of change took a long time. So here we are now with the definition of science, which is very limited philosophically speaking in its understanding of the process of knowing. And that is in stark contrast to the Islamic perspective, in which the material world is only a tiny fragment of a much vaster reality, a reality you can come to know by studying the doctrines and following the practices of Islam. The same principle would apply to traditional Christian, Jewish, Hindu, or any other religious perspectives on science. Arabic reflects this broader meaning in its word ilm, which still has the connotation of organized knowledge, not the limited view of science in modern English. The connotation would be different in various European languages too, as mentioned in our readings. In German, Wissenschaft has a much wider significance than science does in English. Wissen means to know, so you can have Geisteswissenschaften, sciences of spirit, for example. In French, the word science is more limited than in German, but broader than in English. But in the minds of many, the modern English usage is taking over. And that's why it's crucial for us to distinguish between science and scientism. Science in the Islamic and any other religious sense is organized knowledge, whereas scientism is the claim that modern science, defined as the empirical means of knowing the material world, has a monopoly on knowledge. So science is not scientism, but most people today think of the two as the same because of the modern meaning of science in English. Now, can we think of any reason why scientism is internally inconsistent? It's internally inconsistent because it's impossible to know whether the only way to know anything truly is by using your physical senses. By using your physical senses. It's like me saying, there's no such thing as speech, or writing, there's no such thing as language. The assertion nullifies itself if it's true, and thereby proves that it's false. So scientism isn't science, it's bad philosophy. In fact, scientism is an ideological construction of science as an alternative worldview to that of religion. Scientism seeks to supplant the religious view of the universe and reduce religion to ethics without a claim over the nature of reality. That would reduce Islamic science simply to Islamic ethics with modern science. Now, it's not a question, therefore, of science versus religion, but scientism versus religion. So in any conversation between religion and science, philosophy always plays a crucial role, even if it's a silent third partner. Muslim philosophers-scientists therefore carefully examine the philosophical presuppositions of their sciences. This is why Islamic philosophy is critical to Islamic science. Now, the question we want to pose for our discussion is, when we're taught the scientific method, are we being taught science or scientism? With that question in mind, let's now turn to how the Quran holds religion and science together.